Ehsan, you are, and I will ask that he unmute himself and he can introduce himself and his fellow speakers. You guys have the floor.
Yes. In the name of God, my name is Ehsan Jahangiri, MA student of the Culture and Communication of Imam Sadaq University in Tehran. In this case study, we are three, me and my colleague Mohammad Hossein Danekar, and very professional professor assistant, namely Dr. Emami. And today we are going to have a good presentation together, God willing. Dr. Darren, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. Let's begin with sharing my PowerPoint. And yes. Can you see the PowerPoint now?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Safakhaneh, the interaction of the political theology and the religious communication in the experience of the Shiite clergy of the Qajar area and Christianity encountering. This is the topic. So maybe you ask, what is the Safakhaneh? Safakhaneh is located in Isfahan. In the Isfahan, in the Christian neighborhood of Jolfa, inside the center of the representative, the Christian and the Muslims engaging in the dialogue, and the conversation will published in the monthly Al-Islam. So Safakhaneh is an association for interreligious dialogue. Now about the topic, I'm going to speak about the political theology. In the political theology, there is a denial of the domination of the infidels, and in the religious communication, we have Jadal Ahsan, which is mean perfect dialogue. Now we are going to have the interaction of these two aspects of thought in Iran, which is have a good experience in Safakhaneh in Qajar area. The research goal is condition of this accomplishment and the effect of this unique harmony, explores unknown dimension of the Anjuman Safakhaneh. Yes. Backgrounds leading to the establishment of the Safakhaneh. Interfaith environment and the pragmacy of the Jolfa, a neighborhood in Isfahan, which were center of the Armenian and Christian of the Iran, who live in Isfahan, with seminary of the Isfahan. In the Qajar, the seminary were the best center of the Islamic studies during the Qajar. The communicative principle of dawah, which means invitation and its implicance in preaching and dialogue based off the interaction. Invite all to the way of the Lord with the wisdom and beautiful preaching, or honesty preaching. Yes. Excuse me. Preaching and dialogue based of interaction. This is a verse of the Holy Quran that we have beautiful preaching and discuss with them in the ways that the best means perfect dialogue. for they know best, God know the best, the Lord. And the necessity of the perfect anchored dialogue. Use Sabil indicate of the fact of the homogeneity, equality, and non-prodigal relation with the representative of the other culture and religion. Next slide. Yes. Let me bring my can you hear me, Darren? Dr. Darren, now? Dialogue and the inviting or dawah in Quran. These words present three ways of the messaging and inviting. First, wisdom or knowledge. Second, nice advice. And the third, jadal ahsan, which means perfect discussion and the best dialogue. More sensitive and serious than the other cases because from the point of the view of the Quran, and nice advice should be good, and the virtues and adorned with moral virtues, but the jadal ahsan should be ahsan, which means perfect. It means much more adorned, delicate, responsible, and of course more attractive and more beautiful. And next. Here we have some good points about the invitation and Holy Quran verse. I'm going to read for you. Yes. Communicative principle of dawah and invitation is implicant in preaching and dialogue based of interaction. As you see in this verse, present three ways of the messengering, inviting by wisdom that I said about it. The next doctrine that fits the principle of dawah, inviting and promoting as a theory of the communication is that based on the verse of dawah is the best duty of the Prophet and Muslims, but according to the verse, the final discernment and judgment of guidance or misguidance belongs to God himself, and God knows intentions and inside of the persons. Perhaps on the same basis that taste in Safakhaneh, also in Al-Islam monthly, despite publication was published by Muslim savants, none of its number were published with conclusion and judging, and these were assigned to the slave audience. Dr. Emami can't join. Yes, you can hear me now. About the political theology and principle of the superiority of the Islam, we are going to have with Dr. Emami. Dr. Emami, we can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, I hear you.
Go on.
I continue article and apologize from our friends. Okay, in this article and in this viewpoint, we have two principles, and we mix two principles in Islamic thought that affect two religious interaction and interreligious dialogue. Second one is the political principle. A principle in Muslim understanding gives motivation and, of course, direction and principle is the truth, superiority, and legitimacy of essence of Islam as a mental, not practical, as a mental proof. In Quran, we see a verse that in Arabic says, Al-Islam, Inna ad-din inda Allah al-Islam. And in the Holy Text says, Al-Islam ya'lu wa la yu'la alayh. It means the truth of Islam, not me. The truth of Islam is superior. The truth of Islam, the truth of religions, the truth of God is superior on anything, on any fact, on any person. Or the pure religion from God is just Islam, the pure religion. This is the political principle. This is the a principle in political theology.
Yes.
This, of course, never means an ethnic or personal monopoly. No, but it's an epistemological monothesis. Epistemological monothesis. In the principles of communication of Islam and political theology in Islam, we have another principle: abusing in front of freedom. What's the abusing in front of freedom? The principle of superiority of Islam is presented in the Quran, while according to verse 108 of Surah An'am, said the conflict outside of human and cultural customs with the polytheists, and infidels is reject and makes the political situation of the society worse.
Mm-hmm.
The custom is very important.
Yes, we are going
life
to
and in dialogue.
Here we have the verse of An'am. Yes.
You hear me? Surah An'am. Okay. Freedom of thought means that there is no obstacle to thinking, and this verse declare insults and its reacts as an important obstacle, which closes the door to dialogue and exchange of opinion and knowledge by forming all kinds of prejudice and presuppositions and incorrect stereotype.
Yes.
This verse told us you must in customs and rules of culture in any dialogue to anyone.
Excuse me interrupting you, but I think that here is good. Good to know about the people are one community, is what the Sasha Dina said, that the Holy Quran said that all people are the one community. And this is what we said, that all if the action is full of is against of this unity and is against of this one community, is not a religious action. And if the action make the environment give them freedom, freedom, as the Holy Quran said, that do not abuse others, because they try to abuse you, and in this way you can't have good logic. You miss your logic. Just you try to answer and you miss your logic. So knowledge and logic is so important, and it is the causeness of the causeness. So we should give our principles from the Holy Quran and the Bible, Holy Bible, and the others scriptures, not from the liberalism rules, because based off this ayah, the only one who can bring this unity to our community is God. It means it's religion. It means it's the scriptures and revelation. And yes. So insulting is against of the freedom of the thought. Yes, we are hearing you, Mr. Dr. Emami.
Okay, we finished the theoretical, our theoretical framework, and we start our case study. I want to discuss about one institution, history of Islam and history of Iran, namely Safakhaneh, the house of honesty, the house of likeness. In the middle of Qajar era, established, especially in the years 1902, Isfahan was the most important place of ideological struggle led by clergy, Shiite clergy, like Nurullah Najafi and Ayatollah Najafi. They established Safakhaneh. One institution for interreligious dialogue between Islam and Christianity. Safakhaneh, interreligious, scientifically interaction and discourse. In one of the publications, the Christian representative says, indeed, your Safakhaneh is very new in Islam, because there has never been such a meeting in Islam where the people of any nation are free to discuss the religion of Islam and its arguments.
Yes.
During this period, head of Christians, missionaries, named Tisdal.
Yes.
Tisdal, who knows several Oriental language, he had taken a residence in the Julfa neighborhood of Isfahan and invited the sevens and top clergies of Isfahan to discuss the Christian religion, and published his book that became very challenging to these two sevens. I mean, Agha Najafi and Ayatollah Najafi.
Yes.
That book was free in the city, but the Shiite clergy want to answer and dialogue about the statements of this book.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Dialogue between clergies and them represented and with Christian
Missionaries.
clergy was established in the monthly magazine.
Yes,
The
it's publishing
name
it.
of this magazine was Islam. All of the discussion published in this magazine and distribute in the city and in the country.
Yes. Here we have
On the under the title of magazine, on the title of this magazine, they was in ad-din and Allah al-Islam, the political theology principle.
Yes.
That Islam, that the pure religion from God is Islam, but the discussion was very free and was with kindness.
Yes. Also, they invite and ask for discussion, and so it's not a contrast. And they believe that the Islam is the best, essence of Islam is the best, but for the discussion, they are very eager to have discussion with the missionaries, and they have in a very respectful way and have very good experience in the Safakhaneh. Excuse me, interrupting you. Go on, Mr. Emma.
Thank you. The pious person in the position of dialogue, Safakhaneh said us that the pious person in the position of dialogue and inviting other humans to the truth is not a complete guided. Is not complete guided. But he is just in a position of seeker and researcher.
Yes.
As similar as the reveal.
Yes.
This modesty and humility towards the truth lead him to humility and attractiveness in communication.
Yes.
And Safakhaneh say us that emphasize on both communicative and political principles is because of achieving a theoretical comprehensiveness in distinguishing one social phenomenon that has occurred by Muslim clergy at some period of the history of the Islamic world in Iran, and cannot be analyzed one-dimensionally. Nowadays, this unique experience of Safakhaneh shines as a practical and objective sample of the dialogue of religions in two interreligious and intercultural activists, and else could be an abolition and invalidity of radical increasing activism based on insult, violence, intimidation, antagonizing, and of course, assimilation and excommunication. our world need to dialogue and need to believe, and the belief is not against belief, is not against dialogue. Safakhaneh say us belief and pure belief and successful beliefs is not against dialogue. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. So I'm going to say what we are going to say in this article. It was that we believe in about the Muslims believe that the Islam essence of Islam is the perfect and completed the religion. They believe it, but this belief do not cause for any problem to having discuss dialogue and to violence to the other non-religious and other cultures. So of course they are who ask for the dialogue, invite for the knowledge, and they looking for the wisdom. Even we believe in the Muslims believe in the Jesus Christ as a prophet, and they believe in the Bible, believe in the Torah, believe in the other scriptures, and also they have respectfully behavior to person who looking for the wisdom, because themselves are as same as him. They just looking for the wisdom and the truth of the life. And thank you, the audience and Mr. Dr. Darren.
Its article, we have many reports from the dialogues and the nights of dialogue in Safakhaneh, that in the first of any session or the end of any session, Shiite clergy want from Christian clergy to pray for him, to pray
Yes.
for us.
Yes,
And
I can now
and they
read
answer
it.
Amen, and they answer and they and he him and their sense is very real in this praying.
Yes, I'm going to read the point that Mr. Dr. Emami said. Dayul Islam means a Muslim missionary. Yes, he said, very good. In the name, yes, the missionary, Christian missionary. First, you begin and pray that we will follow. Dayul Islam. Very good. In the name of God, the most merciful, the most compassionate, the one God, and the creator of the heavens and the earth, talk to us and help us to say nothing but the truth, and do not deny the truth, because goodness and grace are from you, God. Amen. At the end of the conversation, the Christian preacher says, today we had a lot of conversations. The time is left. Dayul Islam said, now it's your turn to pray. Christian missionary said, oh God, we thank you for giving us grace to talk about you and not to deviate from the way of the loving. Oh God, honor the light of your face and love for all of us, so that we may think about your way of this salvation, so that we may be saved. Yes, that we may be saved. And yes, how can I Dr. Darren, we are going to
Excellent. Are you guys done with your presentation? Okay, and you're actually muted right now, so go ahead and unmute yourself and click the stop sharing button for me.
stop sharing, yes.
All right. Help me pronounce the name of the location. Is it Safakhaneh?
Safakhaneh. Can you pronounce Safakhaneh?
Safakhaneh?
Yes.
Okay. So this was a center that was built to encourage religious dialogue in Iran. Is that correct?
Yes.
How
In,
long?
in 1902.
Okay. So it's been around for over 100 years.
Yes.
Okay. Is it still in use today?
And no, after the years, the publication of Al-Islam cancelled because there was no missionary in Iran too, and but the cathedral and the seminary is there is, but they don't have any dialogue nowadays. I think this is what we miss today for nowadays. We miss the dialogue, so we miss the religion discourse.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Was this a place where Sunnis and Shia were able to also dialogue, Arabs and Persians?
The place, in Shiite thought, as I read, dawah and invite and dialogue is very important because the knowledge and wisdom is very important. So there is no problem to have discourse, to have dialogue, and it's very good with Sunnis and Arabs as well. Okay. But nowadays, the thing is bothering me is that everyone looking for the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, not for the wisdom, not for the logic. But in the university and the salons of Shiite now, there are a lot of faithful men that I really love them. They reading and interpret the Bible as, but they are the Muslims. We believe in Jesus. And me myself sometimes speak with Jesus, and we believe that as Holy Quran know that he is alive. Jesus is alive, and he will come. His advent, the advent of the Mahdi. With the advent of the Mahdi, he will come with him, and in the end of the with this advent, the Jesus comes, and a person who is Christian, a person who's Torah, who looking for the wisdom, logic, who looking for the goodnesses, they are the same as the Muslim who looking for the wisdom, not the only namely I'm Muslim, I'm not go to the heaven. The thing that is important is knowledge and wisdom and the pious. Yes.
Is this a common belief in Iran, or only a minority of Muslims believe this in Iran?
It is a common belief in Iran, yes, but I think in the bad propaganda, just hear about the radical and extremists of the Muslims, okay? So in Iran, we have very good dialogue, very good discourse. Yes, let me. Excellent.
What
Dr. You know us now. Okay, go on.
چطور بود آقا؟
what are Muslims in Iran doing to help improve the image of Islam around the world? Because especially here in the United States, we look at, a lot of us see Muslims in Iran as having been radicalized. What are Muslims in Iran doing to help improve this image?
Mhm. Yes, I think this kind of the courses, interreligious courses, and the scholarship research and scholarship communications will have a very good effect, very good effect to increase these bad, these stereotype, these prejudice, which is cause no one look for what is the Islam said. No one look for what is the Bible said. As you know, these scriptures can help us to know the word, can also help us to know the character of each person by the Bible. You know, um, in Holy Quran, we have very good admiration of the Bible, the same Bible that here is now. Okay, and Muslims should believe in Quran, Bible, Torah, and other scriptures. All of them are holy. Uh, yes. But I don't know. I don't know. For example, in France, Charlie Hebdo magazine. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Charlie Hebdo magazine. What's happening in it? Um, looking for the freedom of the um, freedom of the magazine, freedom of the expressions. Okay, so they don't have problem if they insult to the prophets, if they insult to the others. Yes, and uh, they have problem with the reacting, which is not at all religious react. Okay,
Mm.
but the publishing the magazines of the Charlie Hebdo is not also freedom. Is what make the is what as we see in the words that present uh, is what which close the door of the Islam, close they bring the environment. I think only thing that France need for the freedom, for liberty is some kind of the Safakhaneh and this association, and something like this religious dialogue. And this religious dialogue, they should seeking the freedom from this religious dialogue, not by publishing some magazine, and they uh, uh, protect him. Yes,
Oh,
I'm hearing you.
so let's use the Charlie Hebron cartoon that was published several years ago, which resulted in a terrorist attack against that magazine. Would Muslims in Iran, would the majority of Muslims in Iran, would they condemn that terrorist attack, or did they celebrate it and say that it was justified?
Of course, they as I told, they deny and they neglect. We in Iran and everything that show the Islam, show the Muslims violence, and it's what you're look as you know in ISS. Let me bring you here. Excuse me. Here is the Qasem Soleimani, who you are know him that he were murdered. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
You know him in USA, a person who killed the Americans. This is what the media said, but it's it's not true. He fight with ISS. He fight with the extremists in the Iraq.
Mm.
Uh, yes.
Well, but go back to my question. When Charlie Hebron, the magazine, was attacked by Muslims, did the
Yes.
majority of Muslims in Iran celebrate that, or do they condemn it?
All, not at all. Never.
Okay. Okay.
Never.
It sounds like you're saying is the violence is not a good reaction, but it wasn't appropriate to publish
Violence,
an insulting
the violence
cartoon
is
either.
not religious. As I told, the violence is not at all religious.
Mm.
So
Okay.
everything disturb this unity that I said in my presentation is not religious, but the insultation is not good at all too. Yes, because it's closed the door of the wisdom. It's closed the door of the dialogue.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. It intentionally provoked
Yeah.
a reaction when instead of dialoguing. What can Muslims in Iran do better to help improve the image that the rest of the world has? Because right now, the rest of the world, whether it is true or not, the rest of the world sees Muslims in Iran as radical and as sponsoring terrorism. Can the regular Muslim in Iran do something to help improve and correct this stereotype?
Yes. Um, I think there are some activists. There are some, but the media have very good power. Okay,
Mm.
the media. If the media tell you that Iran's regime is a terrorist, so people are not going to follow Israel. It's true or not. Okay, as well, in the media of the Iran said that the US policy, US, when we are saying the US policy is criminal, we don't believe that the Americans and US population are criminal. We say some of the policies are criminal, not the majority, not the and of course to reduce it, I think this kind of the best way is scholar and academic relations and the freedom, freedom, with no limitations, science means no limitation. There is no limitation in science. So you can come in Iran, I can come in and have the anthropological experience and know about the religion, about the culture. Yes, I think Safakhaneh is what um, we should continue in some cases like these video conferences. Yes, I'm hearing you.
Do you think the majority of Muslims in Iran want to harm Americans or Israelis?
I think this is out of the subject that I present. We present a historical good experience of the dialogue and based off the Bible and the Quran. It is a more political. So I think the principle is knowledge and wisdom. Okay.
Right. And that's what's important about having something like the Safakhaneh. But I'm wondering, do the majority of Iranian Muslims agree with that philosophy of having dialogue? Or
Of
do the
course,
okay,
because,
because what
because
because what
Islam
we
and
hear,
Quran.
I'm wanting to know the if there is a gap or a disconnect between what we hear from some political leaders out of Iran from the past
Yes.
versus Muslims like yourself who live in Iran.
Mhm.
When political leaders in Iran say they want to annihilate Israel and kill
No.
Israel,
Yes.
do that would be against the Safakhaneh and the
Mhm.
philosophy of Safakhaneh. So
Yes.
do Muslims in Iran agree more with the Safakhaneh or with some of the political leaders?
Mhm. Political leaders do not say that Israel should be exploited or should be die out everyone in the no. They believe that the Muslims and Palestinians should achieve their right which they missed justice. Okay, so our presentation was about that, in the political thought. We said that the Islam is good, okay, and also Muslims and any people should not accept the crime, okay.
Well,
you know
I don't mean to put you in a difficult position.
yes,
I'm
this
just trying to
is
figure out. I'm trying to figure out what the majority of Muslims in Iran, how they see things in terms of the Safakhaneh, because you said that political leaders in Iran don't say negative,
yes,
don't say they want Israel to die or explode, but that's simply not true. I can show you video clips of Iranian leaders saying they want to kill off Israel. Do That would be a contradiction to the Safakhaneh and to the tradition of the Safakhaneh. So I'm trying to figure out, do Iranians agree more with the Safakhaneh or do they agree more with a radical sentiment of
what do you think if a leaders that say the uh, Israel government should be finished and have a new government based on the democracy, based on the government who believe in the uh, believe in the uh, what the Muslims wants, okay,
Mhm.
and look for that. Uh, what do you think if him speaking about that? When the person, this is what we have our um, this is mentally okay, but in the act we are going to have a good cultural good dialogue to um, to founding the knowledge. Even a person was Israeli, even a person is Zionist, until they don't have any crime, until they looking for the knowledge, we accept them respectfully and we like them, okay, because they looking for the knowledge. But until they committing crime, of course we should mm, save our rights, okay. Of course we should save our rights, and this is just mentally. If you have a deep if you have a deep review on the presentation, this is two idea of um, communication and religious communication, which is said that dialogue, which is said that the other non-religious are respectful, and the political theology, which is said that the do not accept the domination of the infidels. Okay, this is mentally, but in action we believe in dialogue. Okay.
Interesting. Okay. It's an interesting distinction because I'm not so sure that the distinction is being made by everybody when um, Muslims around the world or Muslims in Iran, especially political leaders, say harmful things. It's no different than Charlie Hebron publishing an offensive critique or cartoon of the prophet. It elicits violence and provocation. What sounds like what you're trying to say is there's a distinction between the political sphere and what they're doing versus the religious sphere.
Yes, you know, when I'm speaking about the religious communication and political theology, don't mean that the leaders are for the political leaders and government are for the political political theology, and the people are from the communication. No, leader is the same one, which is have the interaction of these two together. Okay, and the not accepting domination of the others don't mean that we are don't going to dialogue. Okay, even supreme leader of the Iran looking for dialogue, looking for invitation, looking for the he believe in Bible, he believe in Christ, he believe in Musa, he believe in the Torah. Okay, but he don't believe in the crime against the Muslims. So he stand and said that the we don't accept our domination, we defend. As last week, it was the nuclear uh, which is have dead. So what you think? You think let's come back to dialogue? No, we say that a person who did it, we should by justice. Okay. But it not means a person who looking for knowledge, a person who looking for the truth, we don't accept it. We eager more than anyone to that people to speak, and we are not different. We have no difference between him. Maybe myself, I have no difference between who live in the Israel. But a person who commit a crime, a society, a policy who commit a crime should have Islam have their ideology and set. But you know, the media,
You
yes.
think that do you think that there should be a distinction between um, holding a government or holding a country accountable versus holding the people of that country accountable? For instance, um, if the government of Iran were to do something that the rest of the world condemns, should we as Americans say, yeah, but not all Iranians are like that? Or should
No,
we?
no. I said that the you know, leader in Iran, we have Islamic rules. We're looking for Islamic rules, and I set the two aspects of the rules which interact with each other, and none of them. It's just a misunderstood about that. Okay, none of them are limit the others. Okay, they have interaction together, and I don't divide majority of Iran and government of the Iran or leader. No, no, at all. I want to say that if the government is following Islam, Islam is uh, in action dialogue, but in in his belief that Islam is completely Islam, essence of Islam is the best religion in belief, just okay. It not cause radical extremes and violence, okay, just that's in belief. And in action there is no difference. We are looking for the wisdom, and another person um, who is Jewish looking for wisdom as well. uh, this is in the one character who, for example, the leader. Okay. um, yes, I can answer any other question that you.
Yeah, and I think there's a definite language barrier as well, because we might be talking past each other. Meaning, I'm asking something that you may not be addressing fully. Um, One of the things that we talked about heavily in this conference is the importance of distinguishing between the acts of a country or a military versus the beliefs of the people. And I think it's important that while you might think and believe that Israel and America have bad policies, even criminal policies, um, and I'm not necessarily sure that you're wrong about that. We cannot say that all Americans or all Israelis are criminals and should be held responsible, because that's what leads to violence and terrorism against civilian populations, is when a government does something and Muslims then want to hurt the Israeli citizen as a result.
Mhm.
That's what,
Which government we're speaking about?
well,
There is,
any governments.
yes, have no governments. Okay. Yes, extremists and fundamentalists and other a person who do violence, but by the name of the Islam is not government, but the media make it the same with the government of the Iran.
Sure.
The Iran as the terrorist is not. You have some happening in the Europe. You have some happening in the USA, and the USA going to have a connection between this with government of the Iran, because it has done good relation with it.
Sure. Right. I think hopefully, we're saying the same thing, which is if a government does something that you think is criminal, you don't attack the civilians as a result. So if the Iranian government were to do something, let's say hypothetically, the Iranian government did something illegal or criminal, we wouldn't want America to bomb civilians as a result.
Yes. For
Um,
example,
and
uh, the majority of Iran looking for relation with the USA. Okay.
okay,
Um, and the government follow what the majority wants, and even they were not agree, but they follow what the majority want. But what happened? Government prediction uh, government prediction was I think was right, that it was not reliable, you know. Yes, we have something, and of course